Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 174 of Mini Truckin Magazine, June 2006. We definitely have a lot to talk about with this issue. This is Lee Farmer's amazing 86 Mazda B2200. He's from Jefferson, Georgia. This was titled Way Smoother. Mike Alexander's 12th credited cover. It also has the pull-out poster that you guys will see on the middle of the spine, pages 50 and 52. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how many trucks have had Bonsspeed wheels so far and how many total. So stick with me to the end if you can. This was the 24th Mazda, or 24th cover with the Mazda on it. The cover, of course, you see the banner message, the huge suspension buyer's guide. It does have also the free pull-out poster. This truck, just so everyone knows, was also featured June 2002 as Too Smooth. So, pretty cool stuff there. Now, in this era, I would assume, too, that, you know, this is a way for the magazines to help drive sales, because we'll see more of this. But if you think about, you know, you've got your base, which this has kind of been a topic and of various magazines. You know, Mini Truckin's coming back. You know, Street Trucks is still out there. CK is out there. And then you have all the buyer's guides. But, you know, over the course of time, what I've always noticed is that more than likely, you know, let's say you have your base that is your subscribers, you'll have these publications come and do some special type things to try to boost sales on newsstands. And, you know, this might be a way to do it. Some of these issues, you know, if it was not a newsstand issue, like for instance, this one was a subscription. You would sometimes have like a subscription, but then the newsstand would be a little bit different. And in this case, again, the pull-out poster was there regardless, but a little bit of insight. What we can see here is Lee's amazing Mazda. Love this truck. Pretty cool. The windows are down, which is something I think they're down. You don't typically see, and I know some people, you know, say, hey, you know, we don't like when the windows are down. I know that's been a kind of a bone of contention recently, but I don't think it takes away at all. Of course, Mike is very good at what he does, and you know, this was a long time ago. Mike chimed in. Thanks, Mike, for chiming in the other day. Alexander, that is, on a post that I did on social media, and he's like, man, I can't believe it's been 20 years almost, and that's pretty crazy. You know, June 06 was, you know, almost 18 years ago. So here is another photo. I always liked how they did this in the TOC, the table of contents. A little bit of idea of where they shot it there, like at a concrete type facility. And pretty cool there. You know, nice, looks like maybe afternoon with the sun. This is a pretty cool feature. They do something different with two brothers. And then you've got a good mix you can see there on page 24 and page 32. Here we see the little shop Blazer with the Tacoma front end. Then you've got a hopping photo. Now, this magazine did shutter 10 years ago almost. Probably around, I want to say news broke in February of that year. But, you know, they would already have some in the can, so to speak, you know, in flight. And that's, you know, where, you know, we ended up getting to May of 2014. Here's Mini Truckin model search, and then Havoc to Hit Louisville. You can see Blazerado there, and then Lee Farmer's truck. And it says Mini Truckin or Havoc is back. Mini Truckin and Sport Trucks Havoc is back in Louisville, Kentucky. That was an amazing show many people went to, and that one year they invited a bunch of like the cover trucks and things like that, and I just heard it was great. Here's Under Construction by Chad Lucas. You have Sean Savage. So you have 78 Datsun 620 from Calgary, Canada. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And then you have Jason Van Natta, 989 GMC Sonoma. Definitely kind of up in the game. Construction Zone, you know, so been with us so long in this magazine. And two pretty cool trucks there. Nice big sliding rag. Crazy rear setup. This is kind of in the era when guys were trying to go kind of crazy with these different setups. And, you know, you either loved them or maybe you weren't a huge fan, but certainly a lot of work goes into it regardless. A 3-year trip to Toontown. So this truck is pretty cool. You got to love the squares, and love this feature, this low 3/4 shot from the driver's side. You know, you see the paint which ties in nicely to how they laid this out. And you've got what looks like a KMC wheel and extended cab, of course. Super cool truck. You know, I love features like this. You know, even 3-4 page feature, that's all you need sometimes. But this is William Cruz. What a great last name, William. Which he goes by Justin. Just Cruz. Imagine if that was your name. Your nickname was Justin, or your middle name, and your last name was Cruz. You'd be like, yo, Just Cruz. It's like, yeah, I've heard that my whole life. Pretty cool there. Skull and crossbone in the middle of the door panel, and then how you've got your little puller deal. Pretty cool stuff. Suicide doors. Again, huge rag top would allow for this image to be taken. Kind of a different dash. Crazy paint. It's a square too, which is just amazing. If you like what we're doing here, please leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji, thumbs up, or heart. We know you guys love to leave the hearts. Anything you can do and watch to the end, it helps us. This is Heritage 2K5. This was cool. Before 2000s came around, my dad used to say, I think John Madden would say, oh, what are we going to call it? Like, you know, the aughts. And you'll sometimes hear people call it like, aught 2 or aughts, and, the 1 through the 9, 2009. But this became, I think, the most popular. I think video games may, ironically enough, may have kind of sparked this, because, you'd see like, oh, the Madden 2K5's coming out, or NBA 2K3. So anyways, I don't know where that popped up. But this is where we see the little shop, Blaza. And you can see here, Heritage 2K5. This thing was always cool. All the radius sides. Nice shot here. You got a T-Bird. Vert. You got Brant. This is when he was was toting around that awesome black trailer. And we, of course, talked about that truck. This might have been the truck that won our OLP Old School Award for 2023. We got to go back and look at that, because I didn't talk about the fact he finished the truck last year, but it was featured in Construction Zone. Here's Vicky Hill, Queen of the Hill. And this was Chad Lucas. Shout out to Chad, the big homie, the brother. And just, dude, a super cool feature. You got this rear low kind of side shot of the vehicle. Love this font here, tied in very well. And then you've got a picture of the owner. I think that was a key thing. That a lot of magazines, Tailgate was the best at it, and I think Mini Truckin then incorporated some in, I think Sport Truck as well, but, putting a photo of the owner kind of helped, I think, to kind of paint a picture of, who owned the truck, obviously. This is super cool. Love this setup, seeing all the work that goes in the bed, and then, you've got this plexiglass type deal to see the suspension, super clean engine bay, no sympathy across the front cover, or the front windshield. Always love that logo too. They always had pretty cool font. Speaking of cool font, you can see again way smoother. So if you think about Too Smooth in January 02, which Mike Alexander does talk about in this feature, I did have it up right before I started and I closed it, so I was going to show you guys. But you can always go back. It's the issue with Mike Finnegan's truck on the cover if you want to look. But this is Lee Farmer again, 86 B. 2000, I think I said B2200, but, tomato. You can see there on the back glass BAD. You can see the sliding rag. You can see Bonsspeed. And in the chrome mirror era, you could sometimes look and see a little bit of insight to, if there were people standing and things like that. But not too much to really see there. Definitely can't make anything out. But super sick. I mean, to me, this layout is timeless. When Street Truck started, Brian and team, they did some of the best layouts. I loved how Courtney would do that front 3/4 shot, and then the next pages would be the rear 3/4 shot. This, to me, is, more of a side shot, but it's just perfect. You see a little bit of the grill, and then with the flames. And you think about timeless flames. I mean, to me, this is a truck that you could bring this out at a show right now, and, people aren't even going to realize it was built 20 years ago. Now, the other cool tie-in is my friend Kirk from No Regrets. He lives in Land O'Lakes now. He was from No Regrets, Georgia. He and I talked about this one time. He worked on this truck right before it was, I think, going to debut in this version. He told me a story how he had done some bed work in it. I think he sprayed the liner and maybe did some metal work. And they were like working on it up until like that night where he was going to leave the next morning. and his name is mentioned in here. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of these type of dash swaps. However, I will say out of all of the dash swaps that I've seen, like where you know, not really so much a swap, but this is like fiberglass, right? This is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I just something about it. I like how with the graphic, how it kind of is angled down like that. I mean, big fan of that steering wheel as well. You know, the buttons in here. It's done so tastefully that, you know, you wouldn't have to really change much if you wanted to change something these days. You know, maybe if you wanted to go, hey, I don't like the gauge, you know, you could throw a different gauge in there. You know, if you wanted to, you could maybe make a billet cover or something if you didn't like the speakers, you know, like little things that have changed over time. But if this was my truck now, I would either put the stock dash in because I love those stock dashes, or I would just leave it as is because I think it looks that good. Love these engine bays, especially, you know, they're just super simple a lot of times. You've got that cover that's not always on these Mazdas, and then you can see how clean all that is, all painted. Just super clean. And check out the door panel. So, little extra length on this one just because, one, it's a Mazda. You know I love Mazdas. And two, just because it's an awesome truck. And literally, I know I'm kind of mentioning a couple things, but I would not change anything, really. Now, here's the other thing. I can tell right where this photo was taken. It was at more than likely, maybe Lee will see this. I think this was taken at the fairgrounds here in Tampa. Maybe this was shot in Tampa, possibly, or maybe those are just a few other shots, because I remember, and I tried to go back and find my photos. I took photos of it the year that it was in Tampa. And this looks like the little lake on the backside with all the stuff. So maybe it was shot right here in Tampa, and I don't know. So someone could maybe chime in on that. But yeah, pretty cool. Complete Guide to Sumspension. So, you know, a little slang there. Here, this was something that kind of could be the throwback term, is Oasis. Some of you old school guys will remember in the mid-school era, Oasis became such a big name, and those things are hard to find. That's a chrome compressor. I've never seen one of those in person, but certainly if you had one of these, you had two words that would come to mind: unlimited air. And, you know, folks would have you know, this compressor, and you could literally have it run like for hours at a time. I mean, not that you would need to, but if you were really playing with your stuff, or you had a hopper on air, that was a potential option for you. And I kicked myself because a few years ago I could have got one of those from Frank at Enhanced Customs. He had one, and it was like a show special, just one that he had at the shop, and he goes, "Oh, I'll sell it to you for," and he threw a number, and I was like, man, that's a dang good price. But ironically enough, you really almost don't even need it anymore because Viers are so good, and they move a lot of air. So, tomato. Weekend Warrior build part 2. So Mike Alexander continues. This is with in conjunction with Bobby Martin from Sadistic. Of course, they've had a long relationship, you know, in terms of some of these different things and some of the projects they've done over the course of time, which I've kind of gathered. Ironically enough, this was a cool ad, Psycho Pneumatics, and this truck is going to be on the next cover, which is super cool. It was something totally different, and I think it's awesome. So again, now that I saw that one photo and it sparked my mind, this does almost look like one of those kind of concrete places around the area where I live. So maybe it was shot here in Tampa. And again, I remember photos being taken of this thing. And I was trying to find if I had some behind the scenes, and I couldn't find them, you know, right off the whim. So there you go. There's another shot of it. And just such a cool truck, man. Way smoother. Love the little logo kind of tie in with a little bit of the purple. Air versus Juice, little play on words here. Of course, Air Jordan and OJ, a.k.a. Juice, because of his initials. And this was the thing that was discussed on the front cover. Street Charger, this came up recently because I talked to somebody that was talking about they added a Street Charger to their car. Rest in peace to Bill. Bill passed away last year from Street Charger, and he's from the Tampa Bay area. I had seen him a year ago in January, so about a year and 3 months ago at a New Year's Day cruising, and I wasn't the closest to him, but he always knew me and I knew him, and we always exchanged a good word, and he just was a great guy. Rest in peace to Bill at Street Charger. It's not rocket science, ... Or is it? This is when Mike was really getting kind of crazy with Max Fish. And Max, if you know Max, as I've said, we've had him on the podcast. Dude knows his stuff. Tons of math and just craziness goes into, you know, really building some high-end suspension type stuff. And I'm not going to recap this, but it's very well done. Max has since written a book about suspension, and if you haven't bought it and, you know, you think it would be beneficial to you, check it out. He's a good dude. Twisted Halloween. So Fender Bender Incorporated. Pretty cool. You see Mike Alexander took the photos and did the write-up. And it's funny to think, you know, this is 17, 18 years ago, and it's like times have changed. You know, you'll post photos from just like a little show like this, and someone will go, you know, I'm not saying the show was little, but, you know, just something that was maybe small and, you know, at a shop, and it was an open house or something like that, or Halloween type deal. And people kind of say, man, I miss the good old times. And it's like, you know, when we get older, it's like our jobs and our wives and kids, and, you know, that's the lion's share of our time. So we don't get to kind of hang out as much as we used to. Although I kind of feel like I do, but, you know, not everybody can hang out together, so that also impacts things. For this month, we thought we would take a different twist. Gino and Brian are brothers with similar rides, a similar upbringing, and similar interests. You got Gino Juarez 02 S10, and you got Brian Garfield 2000 S10 step-side extended cab. Super cool family ties, of course, in severed ties. And, you know, this almost was like a throwback if you think back to the Ford Ranger cover with the greenish and the purple. Of course, you know, these aren't the same colors, but with Mini Truckin coming back, I would assume that, you know, they'll do some throwbacks to either multi-vehicles on the cover or, you know, two trucks, kind of like that Ford Ranger issue that I'm talking about, that some of you are getting the visual in your head going, oh, yeah, I remember that one. It was such an epic cover with those two trucks, but certainly really two nice S10s, and I kind of loved how they did that that combined feature. This is Southeast Showdown, and I went to this show, rest in peace to Jon. Jon was a super cool dude. I think at the time it was Jon and Allison was maybe his wife's name, and then Fulmer, Fulmer. And I was hesitant to say that in the past, and someone chimed in and said, yeah, Jay, you know, I get where you're going. You're right. Jon did pass away. I remember getting the news. And he was a super cool dude. I think he was kind of tied in with the Nopi folks because Nopi had kind of made a comeback. I was up for an iPhone launch one year, and it was the same weekend as Nopi had returned, and Common Treads was out there and everything and whatnot. You see some Pebble Pusher rides here, probably this one too. But Jon was a great guy. From my understanding, he's no longer with us, and it just was awesome. My dad and I had a great time up in 2012. We went back-to-back weekends. I think it was Camp and Drag we went, came home, worked 2-3 days, and then had another long weekend, and we drove up to the show. This is Louisiana Fall Fest, so I was rattling on there. But Louisiana Fall Fest 2005, Mini Truckers Party Down, and this was Jenny Hendricks did the coverage, which is key. You know, you need to have someone there, boots on the ground. That color reminds me of Aftermath. OG Aftermath. What up, brother? Reminds me of his truck. But of course, that being a step-side bed, different setup, you know, not the same truck, but it's okay, right? Trucks can remind us of other trucks. This was severed, kind of that pro street with that crazy wheel in the back, that tire combo, if you will. That was a pretty cool issue. And then this was Aftermath, if I remember correctly, Florida. And that's a cool photo there. That truck had been around a long time. The thing looked just hammered, especially with those the flares there. I mean, it just made it even look lower to me. I think it was super low. This was always cool. Showfest 06, they used Josh. Wicked, I think, built that, if I remember correctly. And there was always debate whether people liked that truck more solid. I loved it solid, but I don't know what it was, man. I love those flames. What do you guys think? You guys remember that truck? Matt, he was the one with the fire extinguisher, which I've never told that story completely, and I need to mention that one time because that was a crazy night in South Florida. and someone pulled a fire extinguisher in our room just to mess around, and it is a crazy story, and I gotta share that one day. Here is the Bob Grant signing someone's hat with a Devious. When I first looked at that photo, I kind of was like, I know who that is, but I can't tell. I don't know, so if you guys know, but you can see a Devious jacket. Speaking of Devious, shout out to Jeff at Devious Customs. April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, in 2000, he started his company, and he always posts out on the anniversary, so 24 years. I always remember that because it's 4/1, April 1st. Here's a RIP, at least it burned down doing what it was built for. Kyle Ham. And then boom, a Mazda with the mini truck and license plate. And then FBI, Fender Bender Incorporated. So I promised you, if you stuck to the end, which I super appreciate, number one, thank you. So think about this. This is the crazy thing. Bonsspeed was on 10 covers. Okay, so there's 10 covers out of 269 with Bonsspeed wheels. This is the second of those 10, because in that era, Bonsspeed really started making a splash. And Bill Hancock, when he was on, that's one of our most downloaded episodes where we talk about billet wheel history with Bill Hancock. He talked about all of the lineage that goes back to Boyd and all of the spinoffs. And there's so many wheel companies like Bonsspeed that are still, I guess, doing really well. And there's plenty enough out there for everyone. And this truck, I think, goes down in history as one of the nicer Mazdas built. One of my favorites, personally. What do you think? Leave a comment. Thank you so much for the support, and stay on the rise. That font, though. We got ya. Peace.